When he was arraigned, said Republicans in Congress should defund the DOJ and FBI. Is that something Republicans in Congress should be doing, or something you would support?
I think I can pretty safely say that I've not met any Republicans in Congress who want to spend less on law enforcement. We have a crime wave all across America. We have open borders. The last thing we want to do is spend less. We ought to be looking for ways to spend more on law enforcement.
I don't even know if Chalk has enough supplies to get that much male vitality stack out to change that kind of GOP, but they better. Chalk, it's time to ramp up production. Natural herbal supplements, 20% increase in your testosterone in 90 days. It's time to start airdropping this into Congress. Male vitality stack for you. You're getting older, more tired in the evenings, afternoons. See what more testosterone does for you. You young bucks getting married, getting ready to start cranking out some kids. See what a male vitality stack does for you. Ladies, female vitality stack for you. CHOQ.com. Promo code Jesse gets you 35% off subscriptions. Chalk.com, promo code Jesse. We're not going to let this show go without paying homage once again to John Fetterman's opening statement as he chaired his first committee.
I call to this hearing of the U.S. Senate subcommittee and...
Oops, sorry. The best part of this is, because it goes on a little while, he has his glasses on, and you know when people read things, they'll look down at the paper and then look up, and then look down at the paper and then look up. That's how you would do things if you have notes and stuff like that there. There's no looking up. If you could see the video, the paper's not, he didn't even holding it up. It's sitting down on his desk and he's got his glasses on and he's looking at, just picture Senator Cucumber staring at the paper the whole time.
Food and nutrition, specialty crops, organics, and research to order. Chairwoman Stabenow and Ranking Member Boozman, thank you so much for coming. I thank you for your leadership on this committee, and I look forward to working with you to pass a farm bill. A farm bill that works for small farmers, rural communities, and hungry Americans. SNAP is one of the most effective programs to fight hunger and poverty in the country. In my time in IFAS, as the mayor of Braddock to lieutenant governor to now, I have heard from Pennsylvanians about their support for SNAP. Hunger is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. It's all of our issue that we have to take it on. We need to come together and stop playing political games with Americans' access to food. Americans like about Gloria George from the north to the town of Northeast in Pennsylvania. It tells me that his victim was skimming, which was where somebody stole.
He's reading this, by the way.
Money, and he relied from its SNAP EBT. Mr. Jor is not the first Pennsylvanian I've heard this from. I fear he won't be the last. And I will work in this farm bill to modernize SNAP to work to recipients in the 21st century.
Very clear. It's clear as day. All right. Back to Ask Dr. Jesse questions. Someone wants to know if he should carry a gun in Chicago. The coming GOP presidential debates in RFK. Hang on.
He doesn't care if you believe him, but he's right. Jesse Kelly.
Well, just when you thought your sleep couldn't get any better, Mike Lindell and MyPillow are launching MyPillow 2.0. MyPillow 2.0 has the patented adjustable feel of the original MyPillow, but now has a brand new exclusive fabric that is made with temperature-regulating thread. The MyPillow 2.0 is the softest, smoothest, coolest pillow you'll ever own. Say goodbye to tossing and turning and flipping your pillow over in the middle of the night. Now it's time to give it a try. The MyPillow 2.0 is buy one, get one free for For a limited time with the promo code Jesse, MyPillow 2.0 is made with temperature-regulating technology, 100% made in the USA. The pillow comes with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener special square to get this buy one, get one free offer on MyPillow 2.0. It's time you see for yourself how great this new pillow really is. Enter promo code Jesse or call 800-845-0544 to get your MyPillow 2.0 now. You ever have your home title stolen? Did you even know that was a thing? Your home title getting stolen? Well, let me tell you, it is a thing. I'll never forget opening up my email and seeing my home title in it. And wait a minute, that's my signature on it. That's my wife's signature on it. That looks real. Your home title's not in a bank vault somewhere. It's in the cloud now. As we speak, as you're listening to the sound of my voice, there are hackers across the globe looking for your home title. They'll hack in, forge your signature on it, go to a lending institution, take out a loan or 5 against your home. Guess what? You have to pay that loan back. Oh, Jesse, they'd never do that. They've evicted people for this. Or you can go to court, which you should, but that'll cost you, I don't know, 40, 50 grand. You got 40, 50 grand under the mattress? Or you could just go to HometitleLock.com/Jesse. Home Title Lock, they lock down your title. Anything goes wrong, they fix it. HometitleLock.com/Jesse.
There's no sign of identity theft slowing down. And why should it? More than $14 billion were stolen from identity theft victims last year alone. To cyber criminals, it's a success story. To the rest of us, it's a wake-up call. Your personal info is in more places now than ever, and all that exposure can make it dangerously easy to steal your identity. LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself by monitoring your identity and alerting you to threats you could miss on your own. If you become a victim of identity theft, a US-based LifeLock restoration specialist will be dedicated to your case and work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself.
Homes. More than 500 homeless veterans received housing and services last year. 2T.org. That's T, the number. It wasn't just like one person. The individual teachers had them. The libraries had paddles with holes in them. You know how bad that hurts? And they would just drag you right out in the hall and bend you over the desk and just start wailing on you. We got paddled, and kids today get joints. This is not right. This is not right. Let's get to the emails. Dear future warlord, I like your theory that Trump-DeSantis primary will help sharpen both of them. But is there history of this working in GOP primaries? A lot of previous presidential GOP candidates were before my time, but as far as I know, they were all low-T losers before Trump. Weren't there right-wing candidates in those primaries like Ron Paul or Pat Buchanan? According to your theory, shouldn't their presence have pushed the GOP losers more to the right? Yes and no. One, the Trump-DeSantis primary is so beneficial because they're both significant. They both have a significant chance of winning the primary. It's anyone's game. Absolutely anybody's game. This thing is just getting started. And so when you have two juggernauts like that smashing into each other, they will make each other better. That's one. Two, before this time, really before the Trump era, the GOP was low T forever, especially post-Reagan. It was just soft, and we were soft, and we didn't really realize what was happening. So there wasn't any kind of an anti-communist pull at all. You really didn't ever hear anybody on talk radio or even TV. You didn't hear very much Republican bashing. It was all rah rah, Republicans are the best, Democrats are the worst. You didn't hear anybody keeping the right in check. And we finally woke up and realized how it was. But you bring up people like Ron Paul. Ron Paul did pull Republicans into more correct areas on some issues during the primaries. He did. He really did. In the same way Bernie Sanders has completely screwed half the Democratic candidates in the country when he gets in every presidential election, because he's up there an admitted socialist yanking them all to the left. So he forces them. Bernie Sanders will get up there. We need to nationalize this and eliminate oil. And if you're Joe Biden and maybe you're trying to sound like a moderate or something, you can't really be on the right of him. Believe me, it's for the best. If you're frustrated with some of Trump's messaging right now, and I've been very honest about how frustrated I am with it, what incentive does he have to change that messaging without Ron DeSantis getting into the race? He has no incentive. The primary's already over. It's easy. He has no competition in the world. The worst thing that could possibly happen to Trump, you, and America itself would be for Donald Trump to be able to run unopposed in the primary. There would be no improvement. There'd be no adjusting on the messaging. There'd be no staff changes, which there need to be. It would be vaccine sales and selling NFT trading cards, and we would get blown out in 2024. But a hard primary, that has a way of making you better. When let's say he goes out there, I'm not saying he will, I don't know, we're a long ways away. Let's say Team Trump continues to make some missteps, and let's say they go out there, and what if they lose Iowa again? He lost Iowa last time to Ted Cruz. What if he loses Iowa again? You know what happens after that? People get fired. Hey, you're gone. You're gone. You were supposed to get a better ground game. And that's what we need. We need him firing people, getting better. We need DeSantis firing people, getting better, improving things. We sucked here. We suck at this. We're not good at that. Let's get better. We need the two juggernauts to smash into each other. And I do understand why that makes so many people uncomfortable. No, we just need to rally around Trump. No, Trump needs to drop out. We need to rally around DeSantis. I need DeSantis to be better than he is. You need DeSantis to be better than he is. I need Trump to be better than he is. You need Trump to be better than he is. We are facing some dire times in this country right now. We don't have time to pom-pom wave our way into 2024. I don't need to be lining up behind these guys, worshiping them. I love you. We need to be behind these guys with a bullwhip, whipping them into shape. I need you to be tough and better than you are, because no matter how good and tough you are now, I promise it's not near tough enough. We got problems, and we need them better. Jesse, I have to go to class for work. I'm a Southern country boy who's never near a big city. I carry a pistol every day, but my work is trying to send me to Chicago for my training. I want to carry, but seeing the craziness that is happening out there and the possibility of serious jail time getting caught carrying, I just don't know. How should I go about this situation? One, keep in mind, it's illegal for me to tell you to break the law. They will take the show off the air. I'm not allowed to tell you to break the law. I'm not allowed. Period. Two, even if I was allowed, let's say we can fast forward to the future where this show will be broadcast from a ship in international waters, and we all know that's where we're heading at some point in time. Let's say I'm in international waters and I am allowed to tell you, go in there. I still wouldn't tell you to do that. It's not because I don't want you carrying a gun. It's because you know who's a bigger threat to you in Chicago than the criminals? And I'm not saying the criminals aren't a threat. You know who's a bigger threat to you in Chicago? The justice system, man. This guy leads Chicago now.
Look, demonizing children is wrong. We have to keep them safe as well. Have you ever taught middle school? I have. Have you ever raised young people? Do you understand the risk that young people take just because they're young? Do you know that home plate is at the bottom of my stairs? I found that out when my son was sliding down those stairs trying to score. They're young. Sometimes they make silly decisions. They do. And so we have to make sure that we are investing to make sure that young people know that they are supported.
Those silly decisions were the criminal element in Chicago taking over entire city blocks to vandalize and loot. We're not talking about going out and ringing your neighbor's doorbell and running off. We're talking about violent crimes. Now, what do you think Brandon Johnson and Brandon Johnson's DA, what do you think they will do to you, Southern boy, if they catch you with a gun? Think about what's on your social media. Think about your downloads. Maybe you listen to the podcast of the Jesse Kelly Show. You think they're not going to look at that? You think they're not going to look at what you put on social media? Oh, let's see. He's from the South. Bet this piece of trash even goes to church. Oh my gosh, look at that. He believes in the Second Amendment. What, he listens to the Jesse Kelly Show? They're going to throw you in a dark hole forever. You're not one of the, well, just misguided youths. What? He just needs a home plate and some better funding. They're going to destroy you. My advice? Look, I had to go to Austin, which is one of these communist hellholes in Texas. I had to go to Austin a couple weeks ago to do Timcast. I didn't tell you where I was going beforehand on purpose because that word would get out. And what I did was I got off that plane. I got my driver to take me directly there and then right back to the airport, directly home. I don't know what your situation is, but when you have to go to these places where you are in hostile territory, keep your eyes open, get in, and get out. All right? All right. Now make sure you keep your phone in your pocket. And I know what you're thinking, but Jesse, I have a Pure Talk phone and it's the best, so I want to wave it around loud and proud and tell everybody that I don't support Verizon anymore. And I love that. I'm glad you have your Pure Talk phone. I'm glad you don't fund the communists at Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. You're waiting on your food for dinner. Dial #2. Stop it. There it is.
Director Williams. All right, is that statement still correct?
Jesse question. We have tons of them. Dear Big Caucus Jesse, you only very briefly mentioned RFK running for president against Sleepy Joe the other day.
Hey, how's it going? Good. Let's see. So we're gonna do super, and we're gonna do. Oh, just fill the super. Cash. Yep. Danima, thank you.
man, the science evolved. Huh. All right, let's get back to the Ask Dr. Jesse questions. We have tons of them. Dear Big Caucus Jesse, you only very briefly mentioned RFK running for president against Sleepy Joe the other day. Do you think the system will allow him any kind of a shot? If he gets the nomination, do you think he'll attract enough Never Trump or Never DeSantis Republicans to cruise to victory? I mean, I'll definitely take him over the current corpse in office or Newsom, but he's still an environmentalist loon and needs some chalk. I can't stand his voice. Chris, do you have that RFK cut? What is with this guy's voice? We played it the other day. Now, I'm not familiar with RFK. I haven't been. I know he's a hardcore anti-vaccine guy, which I love. And he's a hardcore environmentalist, which actually makes him a genocidal maniac. But so I don't know, does he have a cold or something like that? Because this voice is maybe the weakest voice I've ever heard in my entire life. And I don't understand what's wrong.
President Trump said, well, these bureaucrats came at him from every side and they were all telling him he had to do it. He had the right instinct. He knew that he shouldn't have closed down the country, but he did it. He got rolled by his bureaucracy. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. During
Yeah, we got it.
I don't know. I'm RFK and I'm running for president.
That guy's not going to win anyway. Also, he has no chance at the nomination. Zero, zip, zilch. The Democrats in this country, their national party is ruled with an iron fist. There's no way they are going to allow anybody who's anti-vax to run and get the nomination. Not in a million years would he be allowed to. If he even got close, they'd probably just pull another Kennedy on him. There's no chance they would allow this guy to win, ever. If he actually got the nomination, would people vote for him? I don't know. I don't know. If Trump ends up being the nominee, which I would guess he's probably in the driver's seat there, I'm not sure. I don't know. There have been so many missteps lately, I question whether that's going to last. But if Trump is the nominee, the anti-vax stuff would probably be enough to pull some people over there, probably enough to the fact we wouldn't be able to beat the Democrats because enough Republicans are mad about it that they would go vote that way and we'd be finished. But none of this stuff matters. He's not going to be the nominee anyway. Dear Machine Gun Kelly, I can't seem to get a handle on the Vivek dude running for president. He obviously won't win, but I remember you said a while ago he would push Trump and DeSantis right, which is a good thing. But so far, all I've seen is him attacking DeSantis, despite DeSantis being on the right of Trump on many issues, such as Disney, trans, abortion, ESG, and why. Why isn't he going after Trump? Help me out here. What's this guy's deal? And this guy's name is Jacob. Whoa. Haven't you figured it out? Why is Vivek out there blasting, not just DeSantis, blasting Nikki Haley, blasting all of them, has not had an unkind word to say for Trump? Have you figured it out yet? Give you a second. He's working for Trump, which is a brilliant move by Team Trump, by the way. I totally love that kind of politics. That's how the game has to be played. He's either outright working for Trump, joined at Trump's behest, or he's campaigning for a job in the future Trump administration. Do you remember, you know who Vivek is this round? And I am glad he's in. He's going to pull people to the right. Do you remember the 2016 primary? A lot of people forget that Chris Christie was in that primary. And remember, Donald Trump and Rubio were going at it hard in the debates. You remember that? Trump and Rubio were just going at each other all the time. And then Marco Rubio essentially had his presidential run ended, but not by Trump, by Chris Christie. Chris Christie got in the race, never attacked Trump, mysteriously ended up with a high-up job in the Trump administration, but Chris Christie dedicated an entire debate, I remember it like it was yesterday, to savaging Marco Rubio. And he did. He practically ended the guy's career. Not his career, I know he's a senator, but he's never going to run for president again. Christie just brutalized him. Didn't have a single unkind word to say for Trump. If Team Trump recruited this guy, and I suspect he did, to run just to attack the opponents of Trump, man, that's awesome. That's extremely smart politicking, and I applaud whoever made that decision, whether it was Trump himself or someone else on the team. That's brilliant. There's a reason Vivek hasn't attacked Trump yet, but he'll blast DeSantis every other day. He's working for Trump. Now that's, again, you can complain if you're having hardcore DeSantis person, you're mad about that right now, and I get that, but brother, politics is a dirty game. Politics is a contact sport. Those kind of dirty things are necessary if you're going to win in a dirty game. There ain't no clean way to play this game. If Trump's going to do that kind of dirty pool, I applaud him. Good. Because then, you know what that tells me? It tells me he'll play that kind of dirty pool against Democrats. And that kind of dirty pool is going to have to be played. Now, let's get to some more Ask Dr. Jesse questions about various things like guns. And, well, someone wants to know about my midlife crisis car and guns, more guns. There's lots of gun talk today. China. Someone wants to know how China would conduct themselves in a war. Before we get to those, let's get to how you shoot. The thing about shooting is there's no such thing as a natural shooter. He's just natural. It's natural at it. Look at what a natural he is. Nope. There are people who are trained, and then there are people who are untrained. And if you are untrained, you suck. And if you are trained, you're good. And that's all there is to it. Mantis put some live rounds down, and you'll be stunned at what a better...
No, not Tom today. Please listen up. You are likely to millions of dollars. No fee unless they get money. Not a business owner? No problem. We pay...
Or visit a Casper. Not available in all locations.
Managing your diabetes just got easier.
Expectations. Use a blood glucose meter to smoke.
That's Dr. Jesse Friday. Before we get appropriate information.
In just 2 years, might not be something that...
Level-headed future and some funny calls. In case you missed it, there was some Home Depot, about $6,000 to fix, and I was immediately drug tested. Luckily, all the managers liked me as an employee. When they asked me what happened, I told them that they should have bought bigger doors. Oh, I did that. Remember when I did that with the U-Haul? I told you that story about when I was when I got out of the Marines. While I was in the Marines, I discovered that I do not enjoy living with other people. I know you're going to find that shocking, but there are things about other people that bother me. Mainly things like not picking up after yourself and stuff like that. It just grated on me. And I swore to myself, when I got out of the Marines, I would not live with another human being until the day I got married. And I said, look, if I have to get an apartment in the worst part of town, I don't care what it is. I'm never living with someone till the day I get married. And here's how committed I was to this. When I got out, I had already had my apartment lined up. I didn't get down to Tucson in time, so my apartment wasn't quite ready that day. I had to go stay with my folks, my parents. I stayed with them one night, woke up the next morning and drove right to my apartment and moved in. That's how committed I was to it. Eventually, the wife was lucky enough to meet me. And Chris? And we eventually got married. And obviously made the big decision to move in with her after we got married. But we did. Got married, and then as soon as we got married, wanted to move in together. So that was the day I was moving out of my apartment. I didn't have any money for movers or anything like that, so I had to go get a U-Haul. That's all we got when I was a kid. It was always a U-Haul. We did all our own moving. So I go get a U-Haul, and I drive it down to my apartment. And I still to this day don't know what I was thinking, because I never do stuff like this. But I drive the U-Haul up to my apartment, and the apartment had these covered parking spaces. Now, they're not garages. They just had this piece of sheet metal all over all these public parking private parking spaces. Why I can't talk. And I drove the U-Haul right up to these daggone things, and just boom, I clipped the side of it. And because it's sheet metal, it just starts folding up like a bed sheet. So I ended up taking off. It had to be 100 feet of sheet metal off the top of these things. Gosh, that was one of the worst moments. And then I had to go back to U-Haul with no money and try to explain why there was a brand new fresh gouge in the side of the U-Haul truck, which I had to pay for. Financially just wiped me out. Freshly married, financially devastated. Dear handsome, world-famous author of the Anti-Communist Manifesto, available for pre-order at jessekellybook.com, Chris. Buenas tardes, she says.
Buenas tardes.
As a 49-year-old dime, I find myself wondering about certain mysteries of life. If I am lucky enough to get to heaven, I have a list of questions for our Almighty. 1. Who shot JFK? The mob. The mob, probably in conjunction with the CIA, because the JFK had talked about wanting to get rid of the CIA after they screwed everything up at the Bay of Pigs. Well, the CIA was already working hand in hand with the mob, trying to assassinate Castro in Cuba, so there was already a relationship there. And if you're doubting what I just said about the mob being involved, do keep in mind that Jack Ruby, the man who famously killed Lee Harvey Oswald before he could really sit down and give a whole lot of testimony, Jack Ruby's real name was Jack Rubinsky. Jack Rubinsky was a Jewish mobster. He came up under Meyer Lansky's Jewish mafia that worked hand in hand with the Italian mafia, and he was running a strip club in Dallas, a mob-owned strip club. So the mob guy took out Lee Harvey Oswald. In case you're wondering why this was done, keep in mind John F. Kennedy wanted to get elected president. He was a Catholic. That seems like a ridiculous thing to matter now, right? But back then it was a big deal. There had never been a Catholic president. John F. Kennedy's father, Jack Kennedy, had worked hand in hand with all the mobsters during Prohibition, running booze over the border from Canada. And so he approached the mob in places like Chicago and told them, it was Sam Giancana was in charge at the time, and Santo Trafficante was running the mob in Florida, and Carlos Marcello was running the mob in New Orleans. And he approached them before the election and said, hey, I would love for you to deliver some votes for my son. I'd really like my son to be president. And mob said, oh, okay, sure. I mean, obviously you're going to treat us right? And he said, oh, of course, just help my son become president. They do, allegedly, this is the alleged part, they allegedly did help him bundle those votes up to become president. JFK promptly appoints his brother as the head law enforcement officer of the nation, the attorney general, and then his brother goes after the mob, tooth and nail, and not only goes after them, mocks them publicly. We've played the testimony before of him, I forget which gangster it was, mocking the guy, accusing a famous mobster of being a little girl because the mobster laughed. I see you're giggling there, you little girl, with your laughter. Apparently the mob did not appreciate that very much at all. And maybe you're still sitting there saying, Jesse, that's crazy, it would never happen. But there are all kinds of mobsters who have written books about this stuff, and they all sell essentially the same story. They all tell essentially the same story, that's what happened. There's a famous line. There's a book called I Heard You Paint Houses. It's a really, really cool mob book. They made a Netflix movie about it, which sucked, with Robert De Niro, but the book itself is great. I Heard You Paint Houses. I think the main mobster's name in it is Frank Sheeran, if I remember right. Not a full-blown mobster because he wasn't Italian, but he was one of the guys who just shot a bunch of people for them. He killed a bunch of them. Frank Sheeran, I think is his name. Anyway, there's a scene there with Frank and one of the head mob guys from Buffalo. Buffalo actually has a very, very powerful mob, or did. I don't know how powerful they are anymore. And they're talking about killing Jimmy Hoffa. And Frank Sheeran didn't want him to kill Jimmy Hoffa, even though he was the one who killed Jimmy Hoffa. Frank Sheeran didn't want him to kill Jimmy Hoffa. And he tells him, hey, I mean, are you sure you can even kill Jimmy Hoffa? When he's talking to this mob guy. And the mob guy tells him, hey, they can kill a president. They can kill the president of a union. That's how the mob ran stuff back then. And I actually didn't get to any more of these questions, and I will get to them in just a moment because they're good ones. And also war with China. What are they going to do? How are they going to handle their own troops? That's an interesting conversation. You know what's not interesting? Having to clean up after your dog because his digestive system doesn't work properly. I have the most spoiled, pathetic, embarrassing dog in the world who has anxiety problems, and he gets an upset stomach when someone leaves. If I go get the mail, he'll wait by the door. Think about it. No one does. But this is what they would do. Their people were ill-equipped. They're a lot better equipped now, but their people were ill-equipped. They didn't even have enough rifles for everybody. So what they would do was they would create 3 lines. So there's a line of dudes, right? Going right to left, a line of dudes. And then there's another line of dudes going right to left behind them. And then there's another dude going right to left behind them, right? You got me? So 3 straight lines right there, parallel to each other. The first dudes, they were the dudes with the guns. And they would charge up the hill towards the Marines and Army who were dug in around Chosin Reservoir. Just charge up the hill. The line of dudes behind them would be running behind them. Why? They didn't have guns. They didn't have guns, and their job was to pick up the gun of the guy in front of you when he dies, and he will. Now, that's the first 2 lines. You know what the back line was? The back line were Chinese troops whose job it was to mow down anyone who retreated. Anyone in the first 2 lines who decided, I don't feel like getting shot in the face today, I think I'll turn around and go home, I'd like to see my wife again. Anyone who turned around got shot by the line that was in the back. Soviets were infamous about doing this especially during World War II when the Nazis were in there. If you've ever seen good documentaries about it, there are great ones. I think they even show this a little bit in that movie, Enemy at the Gates, although I haven't seen that movie in ages. Based on a true story, they take some serious liberties in there, but based on a true story, the Soviets would simply set up machine gun nests behind their own troops. And they were there designed so any Soviet who turned around and ran the other way would get mowed down. And they wouldn't, it's not like they're going to shout out a warning, hey, please stop, don't make me do it. No, the second he turns around, just mow him right down. And this is part of communism. This is part of the reason they're anti-humans. Life is so cheap. Life just doesn't mean anything. Whereas if you even had an accident, where, let's say you're on the road and maybe you're texting or something,